Hey, bookish friends, welcome to the Bookish Catch-Up, where I sit and talk about all the books I've read lately. Now, we have 8 books, well, 7, because one of them is a trilogy, but we have 8 titles to go through, and they are all available, except for one, on the Kindle Unlimited store if you're interested in getting your books that way. So let's start. The first book in the lineup is the Strong Trilogy. Now, I'm not going to talk about all 3 of the books. That's why I said it was going to be 7 titles instead of 8, because if I talk about the other 2 books, it'll spoil the first book. So, the book begins with our main character. His name is Randall Morgan, and he's on his way back home after spending a couple weeks in a cabin finishing up the ending of a book that he was writing. So, on his way into town, he's at a traffic light, but he's kind of disturbed because he sees a man who is deceased and he is strung up on a lamppost, hence the title of the book. And there's a few people that while he's sitting at the traffic light, they're crossing the street and they're coming towards where he's sitting in his car. And it seems like they don't have a reaction to this sight. And they just go on about their business. Nothing's wrong, nothing's out of the ordinary. And so this messes with his head, and he says, there's something wrong here. And as he's trying to uncover what is going on in town, he finds that, it's really bigger than even him. The situation is bigger than he has ever imagined. So that's where we start with the first book. I really enjoyed this book. I gave it 3 stars because there's a sci-fi element to it, and I'm not really into sci-fi. Aside from that, it was a really great book, very atmospheric. I was at the edge of my seat at certain points, and at certain points I was like, oh no, please don't tell me they're going to do XYZ. But it was great. I enjoyed it. I had a fun time with it. Yeah, 3 stars. The next book on the list is Hell House by Richard Matheson. Now, the great thing about this book is that it came out in 1971. So it's somewhat of a classic, I think, amongst horror enthusiasts. But the thing about this book is that when I read it, it read to me like an Exorcist type of movie, just because of all the elements that they write about. So let's get into the synopsis real quick. So the story follows 4 people who are investigating the Belasco house, and the house has this reputation for being the most haunted house in the world. And the 4 people are Dr. Lionel Barrett, who is a physicist with his wife, Florence Tanner, who is a spiritualist, and she believes that the house is just trapping the spirits there and the spirits are suffering, and she wants to free them. The last person is Benjamin Fisher, and he was a part of the original investigation into the house, and turns out he was the only survivor of that investigation. So the house immediately starts messing with all of them. It exploits their fears, their weaknesses, it twists their thoughts around. It's crazy. But I really like this story. I gave it 3 stars. It really read to me like an Exorcist movie. At least that's the way it played out in my mind. I really had fun with it. So it's really, really fun. It's a fun little scary read. And it's a quick read too. So I recommend it. So I'm sure all you seasoned book lovers out there have heard of Dot Hutchison's The Butterfly Garden. If not, and you haven't heard of it, because maybe you're not into thrillers or whatever, let me give you a quick synopsis. The story centers around a secluded mansion with a lush, eerie garden, except that this garden isn't just filled with flowers. It's home to butterflies. These are young women that were kidnapped by a sadistic, greedy, evil person. And what he does is he tattoos butterflies on their backs. He names each one after a certain butterfly, and he tattoos that butterfly on their backs. And then the story unfolds after they've discovered the garden, and they are interviewing one of the survivors who seems to have spent the most time at this point in the garden. And the whole thing is just basically the entire story of how this garden came to be and the whole investigation unfolding. And they mention the survivors, but it's really eerie. It's creepy, it's gross, and it's deliciously fantastic. At least that's my opinion. If you like thrillers and you like, crazy crimes and things like that, I really like this book. Um I want to say I gave it 4 stars. Let me check really quick. I gave the no, it's not a 4 star read for me. It's a 5 star read for me. I'm just looking at my story graph rating. So I gave it 5 stars. It's really, really good. I mean, the story and the way everything unfolds. Oh gosh, the characters. It was really good. It was really good. I highly, highly recommend this one. So the next book on my list is called Hex, and it's written by Thomas Old Huvelt. And apologies if I didn't pronounce that correctly. Now, the story centers around this small town. It's a small, very close-knit community, and they are all hiding a secret. It's a secret that's been carried around from generation to generation to generation since 1664. Now, what's the significance of that year? Well, that's the year that a woman named Catherine Van Wyler was executed for being a witch. And she's known in the town of Black Spring, which is the small town, as the Black Rock Witch. The thing about this witch is that she appears spontaneously throughout the town. You never know where she's going to pop up, and her eyes and mouth are sewn shut. And the whole book centers around how the whole town reacts to her wanderings, let's say. And they track her movements throughout town through an app, if you can believe that. This was such a great book, and what a creative story. I really, really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars. My next book is The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. This was one of those books that I kept getting recommended on my Kindle, but I was like, do I really want to read this? Is this one of those books that gets overhyped and underdelivers? I don't know. But anyway, I read it, and it was serviceable. It was good. I gave it 3.5 stars. I'm getting the rating out of the way right up front. But the story was really good. So we start with Sarah Morgan, who is this powerhouse defense attorney, and she's brilliant at her job, respected in her field. And her husband is a struggling writer at this point. He did have some level of success at first, but he hasn't been able to crank out another winner. So he is feeling overshadowed by her success. And what does he do? He has an affair. And then, to add insult to injury, he gets accused, or he gets arrested for the murder of his mistress. And she takes on the impossible task of defending him in court. That story alone hooked me. But overall, the book is really good. It's not 5 stars, but it's good. It's good. And I enjoyed it. Next up, I have A Cozy Mystery. It's A Slice of Murder by Rosie A. Point. I found out about this book by watching What Michaela Reads. She's one of my favorite booktubers, and she recommended it in one of her videos. So I thought I'd give it a shot. Sadly, I haven't found any luck with cozy mysteries, but I keep wanting to dip my toes because a lot of people really seem to like them. So I tried this book, and here's the synopsis. So it's about a young woman. Her name is Gina Romano, and after a bad breakup and finding out that her fiance was cheating on her, she decides to go back to her hometown of Lake Basil, New York. So she decides to go and visit her Uncle Rocco's pizza parlor, for some comfort food and a little bit of, licking of the wounds. But she goes there only to find that he's not there, and the shop is in a little bit of disrepair, let's say, and it's on the verge of foreclosure. So she steps in and she fires the head chef, who wasn't doing things traditionally like her uncle did. Soon after she fires him, he's found dead in the shop, and the whole town thinks that she had something to do with it. So naturally, because she wants to save her uncle's business and clear her name, she's got to figure out who did this. In the end, I only gave this 2 stars. I mean, it was just okay. Again, like I said, I don't have a lot of really good luck with cozy mysteries. I'm still looking for the one. I'm sure that it's out there somewhere, but this one sadly was not. My next book is The Housemaid by Frida McFadden. But let me explain. I resisted reading this book for a very long time. I mean, the book was hyped everywhere and it was surrounded by controversy. But everywhere I looked, all over social media, and I'm not on social media, I'm on just YouTube, it was well loved by everyone who reviewed it, the twist, and so on and so forth. So I said, let me give it a chance before I decide whether or not I'm going to have a McFadathon and read all of her books. So I read it, and again, it was okay. It was just okay. I gave it a serviceable 3 stars. So let's get into the synopsis. So for those few people that might not have read the book or maybe never heard of the book, The Housemaid is about a young woman named Millie who's just out of prison and is desperate for work. And she lands a job with a super wealthy family and she thinks it's this big dream job, you know. But things start to get weird really fast. The wife is unpredictable, the husband seems too charming, and Millie's tiny attic room locks from the outside. And after some time, it just seems like this dream job is turned into a nightmare. Now, I know that based on my attitude, you already know what my star rating is. It's okay. The book is just okay. I mean, it was interesting enough, but I mean, it's just okay. I wasn't blown away by the twist at the end. It was just okay. I feel like if the book wasn't surrounded by so much hype and controversy and all this other stuff, I might have enjoyed it more if it was just another book. And plus, Frida McFadden's books are one of the most recommended books on Amazon and Kindle Unlimited. And my last book on this list, I saved it for last because this is another situation where I'm trying to dip my toe into different genres to see if I like them. And so this book is called Graves by Caitlin Taylor. And this is categorized as a dark romance. And I've never read a dark romance before, so imagine my surprise when I saw the content warnings in the beginning of the book and how the author was kind of straying me away from reading it. But anyway, here's the synopsis. Zayden and Dominic Graves are identical twins raised in violence and shaped by a brutal world. Zayden thrives on chaos and Dominic craves control, but their bond has always been unbreakable until her. And they're talking about Blake. Blake is the woman who changes everything. Zayden sees her as his angel, his obsession, the one thing he must have. Dominic is supposed to protect her for his brother, but the more time he spends with her, the harder it is to ignore his own feelings. Yeah, I'm sorry. This definitely is not my thing. I mean, I know dark romances are everywhere and romanticities are a thing, but really it's not mine. I will admit, I did have fun with this book. It had its smut, and oh boy did it have smut. And I'm not a prude, but oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, this had some smut. I decided, because it's not my thing, that I would not rate it because, you know, someone else might read it and they might like it. But really, again, I was just dipping my toe, and I quickly am removing my toe because it isn't my thing. If it's your thing, that's fantastic. There's no judgment here. It's just not my thing. In the book community, we're allowed to like different things. And this concludes my very first Bookish Catch-Up. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.